I am 37 years old, and recently I was told I have stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctors say it's time for hospice care. That sentence, that cold announcement, still echoes in my head, though I have repeated it to myself so many times that it has become strangely hollow. I thought I had done everything right. I never smoked a single cigarette. Fried chicken, pizza, those things showed up in my life maybe once a year. I exercised with discipline, 3 days of weights, 2 days of cardio, week after week. I built a life around survival and health, and yet here I am, living with a body that betrayed me. My grandfather died of liver cancer at 65, my father of melanoma at 55, now me, pancreatic cancer at 37. It feels like a cruel family inheritance. Sometimes I laugh at the absurdity of it. When I received the diagnosis, I moved quickly. I broke up with my girlfriend because I didn't want to drag her into this. I closed my business, cleared every debt, and used what remained to buy retirement products for my mother. That was my way of tidying up, like cleaning the room before leaving the house for the last time. Oddly enough, once I knew the truth, I lost all desire to live, not in despair but in acceptance, as though the fight had been knocked out of me before it even began. I think of my life, and there are small mercies. I am not married. I have no children. I do not have to fear passing down this defective strand of DNA. This fate written into my blood, I consider that a blessing. My calmness surprises even me. The only thing I cannot do is tell my mother. The thought of her carrying this weight crushes me more than the illness itself. So here I am, reflecting on the strange balance of fortune and tragedy. I know the end will come sooner than I ever expected. But I hope those around me, those who read these words, can live lighter, happier days. If my story has any meaning, perhaps it's simply this. Life is uncertain, fragile, and painfully unfair, and yet, I hope only good days await you all.
Today, we're looking at a truly extraordinary letter. It really makes you rethink, well, everything you assume about health, control, and maybe acceptance, too. We have correspondence from a man who's facing stage 4 cancer. He's only 37. And his perspective on mortality is stark, but also surprisingly calm.
It really is. And it sets up this immediate, almost jarring paradox. That's what we need to explore today, right? To sort of distill the lessons here.
Yeah.
We need to analyze this huge contrast between a life spent totally focused on, staying healthy, living long.
Right.
And then the crushing reality of a terminal diagnosis that seems purely down to genetics, something totally out of his control.
The details are just, well, immediate and devastating. 37 years old, stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and already at the point where it's time for hospice care.
Yeah.
But the backstory is what's so shocking. This wasn't someone who lived recklessly, not negligent about his health at all.
No, far from it.
Yeah.
When you look at the details he gives about his life before, it sounds like a textbook example of perfect health.
Totally.
Never smoked. Ate fried foods, things like, fast food, pizza, maybe once a year, he says.
Once a year.
And this really structured routine. 3 days of weight training, 2 days of cardio. Every single week.
He did everything right. Followed all the advice for survival, for longevity, and yet his body just completely blindsided him. He actually says he feels utterly betrayed by my own body. He put years into being healthy, like it was some kind of insurance policy, only for it to be instantly canceled.
And that diagnosis just exposes this fundamental limit, doesn't it? This modern idea that we can control everything about our health.
Yeah.
He treated his body like this perfectly tuned machine, stuck to all the maintenance schedules religiously.
Right.
But this illness, dictated by his genes, it's the ultimate system failure. Like an act of God, almost.
Yeah.
It makes that decade of strict discipline totally meaningless in terms of the outcome.
All that effort to buy time, just overridden.
Instantly. By something predetermined.
And that idea, predetermined fate, that's really key to understanding the quiet acceptance we see later, isn't it? We have to talk about this family history, this cruel family inheritance, as he calls it.
Yeah, that context gives the diagnosis this terrifying feeling of inevitability.
It does.
Today's letter lays it out, and it's staggering, frankly. His grandfather died of liver cancer at 65. His father died of melanoma at 55.
And now him, pancreatic cancer at 37.
The age progression. It's just a horrific trend line.
It feels like the cancer is speeding up through the generations. But what really struck me was his emotional reaction, moving from, devastation to this kind of, well, dark humor.
Absolutely. He actually says that sometimes the sheer absurdity of this pattern makes him laugh.
Wow.
And that reaction, that sort of cosmic joke, it's actually a really important psychological insight, I think. It lets him bypass the usual stages of grief. It offers this dark kind of freedom.
Anger doesn't make sense anymore.
Exactly. It's pointless. It gets replaced by this surrender to the pattern.
And that surrender, it led straight to this really profound acceptance. He explains that once he knew it was terminal, he just lost all desire to fight. Not out of desperation, he says, but just quiet acceptance.
Right. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, facing a fate that's already written in my blood, like he puts it, it sort of cancels out that whole traditional story of the brave struggle against illness. Why fight a battle that, 3 generations before you have already lost? The fight was, as he says, knocked out.
Yeah.
Before it ever began.
So there's no guilt about giving up.
None. Because the outcome feels less like a personal failure and more like just biology and inevitability.
Which makes you think, doesn't it? For you listening, maybe you're watching your diet, hitting the gym with that same kind of dedication.
Yeah.
What happens when all that effort is just, rendered meaningless by your genes?
It's a terrifying thought.
It is.
No.
And it completely shifts the
It
focus.
shifts it entirely.
Away
From saving yourself, because that's impossible now, towards preserving others.
Right.
And this move from accepting it mentally to taking practical action, that's where this letter gives us some really sharp lessons about calculated closure.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that. Because once he reached that philosophical acceptance, he moved fast into preparation. He describes these actions not as like final wishes, but simply the act of tidying up before a long final departure.
That phrase, tidying up, it was swift, quiet, and incredibly calculated. It shows this really mature, maybe even deeply controlling, in a way, approach to managing the impact of his own death.
He took 4 very specific steps. First one, and this is highly unusual, he broke up with his long-term girlfriend. Specifically, he says to spare her the burden.
Wow. Okay.
Second, he immediately closed his business. Third, paid off all his debts. Everything.
Clean slate.
And fourth, and this is maybe the most remarkable financial part, he used whatever money was left to buy retirement products for his mother.
Okay, let's break down that first one, the relationship decision. Breaking up to spare her the burden. That's more than just being kind, isn't it?
Seems like it.
It's actively refusing to put that emotional, that logistical weight of caregiving onto his partner. It makes sure his final months are about him managing his illness, not this shared, drawn-out tragedy.
It's like he's controlling the ending of that story.
Exactly. Controlling the narrative of how the relationship ends.
So her memory of him isn't dominated by, watching him suffer, dealing with the finances.
Right. And those financial decisions, clearing the debts, using the last bit of money for his mother's retirement, that's where the whole idea of legacy just completely flips.
How so?
Well, his final energy, his final resources, they weren't spent chasing some tiny chance of a cure.
Yeah.
They were focused on maximizing the stability, financial and emotional, of the people he was leaving behind. Investing in his mother's future like that, it redefines what his assets are. They're not his savings anymore.
They're his final investment.
His final guaranteed investment in the living. It's just a stunning example of responsibility over, self-pity.
It really is. It's the ultimate responsible exit. Turning his own early end into one last deliberate investment. This kind of calculated calm. It suggests he's trying to get absolute control over the outcome of his death, since he had zero control over the diagnosis itself.
He's controlling the final impact, yeah. And if you look further, he also talks about things he surprisingly saw as blessings or tragic mercies in the timing of it all.
Which again speaks to this focus on minimizing harm.
Exactly.
The word mercy in this context feels almost jarring, though. The first point he makes is about the absence of burden. He explicitly says he's not married, doesn't have children.
And the implication there is huge. By dying young and single, the sort of blast radius of grief, financial chaos, long-term dependency, it's minimal.
Right.
He sees that solitude not as loneliness, but as reducing the collateral damage.
But the truly profound statement, the one that really connects back to the inherited fate thing, it's the relief he expresses about genetics.
Ah, yes.
He calls it a true blessing that I will not pass down this defective strand of DNA, this fate written in my blood.
That might be the most powerful and frankly heartbreaking definition of a blessing in the whole letter.
I agree.
To look at your own early death and find comfort, find relief, that the suffering, that genetic pattern, it stops with you.
It's the definitive end to the family inheritance.
Achieved through his own, well, sacrifice. His own non-existence, basically.
It's the ultimate protection for a future family he'll never have. But amidst all this calm about his own death, his finances being sorted, there's one thing left. One emotional trigger.
Ah.
The mother. The thought of telling his mother.
Yeah. That's the single thing, the crushing thought, that he admits could shatter his calm.
He's serene about his own passing, but terrified about her grief.
His belief is so clear and painful. Her pain, he says, would outweigh my own illness.
He's managed the financial side, the romantic side, tidied those up. But the parent-child bond, that's the one thing he can't resolve. The one source of pain he can't control.
It really shows that even when someone reaches this incredibly high state of personal acceptance about their own end, the fear of causing pain to the person who gave you life can remain absolute, untouchable. It really raises that question, doesn't it? When someone reaches terminal acceptance, does the focus always shift entirely onto the emotional survival of the loved ones left behind?
It seems like it here.
His own illness is a known quantity now. He can manage it, in a sense. His mother's grief, that's the one huge unknown terror he can't tidy up or pay off.
So the final act of selflessness isn't about his body.
No, it's worrying about her emotional survival, not his physical one.
That contrast really sums up the whole letter, I think. Total calm about himself, but this intense anxiety about the impact on others. It's just profound empathy and responsibility right to the very end.
Absolutely. So if we just pull back and look at the core insights from today's letter. First, that profound irony. The super strict health routine failing completely against genetic destiny. Then, this deliberate process of calculated closure, removing debt, removing dependency, tidying up, and finally, that really unusual selfless definition of a blessing, finding relief in not passing on that defective strand of DNA.
It's a masterclass in refocusing your last resources, time, money, energy, away from a fight you know is lost.
Yeah.
And towards ensuring stability for those who will live on. He leaves us with a final, very powerful truth. Life is fragile and often unfair, and he ends with this sincere hope. Only good days await you all.
That generosity right at the end, facing his own tragedy, it's stunning.
It is.
He really shows us that true acceptance completely redefines what personal responsibility means. Deciding to end the relationship, investing his last money in his mother. It proves the final fight wasn't against the cancer.
No.
It was for the financial and emotional stability of the people he loved. The legacy he chose wasn't about himself. It was about meticulous, selfless preparation for their future, making sure his death, while early, wouldn't also ruin them or leave them dependent.
That level of control, that level of care, that's the sharpest lesson in today's letter.
It really is. Something to think about.